The moves news, the moves news, the moves news. Yeah, the voice seems to work, and yeah, it's nice to be able to say that title. It's a good warm-up for my mind as well. If I stutter or stammer or goof it up, then I better give myself a reality check and get into things. Yeah, so be forewarned, you might hear the occasional helicopter or horn honk or traffic or birds tweeting or cawing or whatever they do out there, because yeah, it's warm enough outside that I don't have to have the heat on, and temperature is pretty good. I opened both sliding doors, so I could open the front door too and get a flux of air traveling through, but this is good enough for now. If I open the front door, because this apartment faces both directions, kind of, it's a narrow building, that's a good exchange of air, and that would be actually the best. The freshest air you can breathe is better. This is one of the reasons why I used to sleep out on the balcony at night, because you get fresher air, right? The intake and the outtake, or whether you breathe in and out through your nose or in and out through your mouth or some combination thereof, the intake and output is the same place more or less. So you're exchanging air. You blow out some carbon dioxide and it comes back in again, and you know, it's a relatively inefficient in a still environment. So the more exchange of air you can have with the outside today, you know, with here in real time, I've got the ability to open up both of those windows, so that's a good thing. That's good for my vitality, so I can deliver a better presentation to you. I have been working on a new drum rhythm here to present on the Moves News. This is news. And it's not just Gary news. Yeah, I've been working on a new drum rhythm, but maybe I should make this a little bit didactic and talk you through what I'm doing. So the basic rhythm, let me just concentrate and get this to happen. Yeah, that's the basic rhythm. I'm going to keep it going for a few weeks so you can see the progress from one week to the next. If I get into a really good rhythm, I can add another layer to that. So, for example, after I slap here with the other hand here, I then have to lift this up, both hands up, and start that next boom. And maybe I just want to keep things a little bit more chill and not rush that little thing, and so then but then I have to catch up with shortening some of the later notes. And let me see if I can get that to happen. So I'm gonna get the basic rhythm going, and I'm gonna repeat it until I'm really comfortable that I really don't have to think about it so much anymore. It's quite natural. And then I'm gonna add that next element to this and see if I can sustain it a little bit. So I'm just walking you through the learning process, and there's many elements of this learning process that are similar no matter what you're trying to do, some sport, some musical instrument, or what have you. So, okay, here I'm going to do that. I am going to perform what I just talked about. I'm going to try to walk this walk. Well, thank you for observing and listening, because I paid extra attention to make and concentrated the best I could. I wasn't really nervous, you know, so I was able to proudly do what I talked about doing. I was able to walk the walk pretty good. Yeah, so then there's other developments I can do with that basic rhythm. I'm going to practice that basic rhythm like I do every day. This drum is right here in my living space. I've been sitting down at this drum 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes for only a couple minutes, 5 minutes each, but that's something, right? And so then I can get a little bit of music at the beginning of the Moves news. It won't be taken down, it's original. And at the same time, I'm practicing my sense of rhythm. I do this on my motorcycle too, at intersections. I'm driving through Tokyo, it's a red light, I have to stop. I try to do this once on every trip. If I put the ignition, start the bike up, before I turn it off, at some point along the way, I'm going to try to do some drumming practice. So, and I do that on the tank. And now that it's warm enough, I don't have to wear gloves. I can entertain everybody in the intersection quite well with a little music in their day. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I certainly haven't had any complaints, you know. And yeah, people are kind of shy. I don't get acknowledged that often. You know, if people weren't so hazukashi, maybe they would, you know, like walk in the rhythm or do a little dance while I'm drumming or something out there in the intersection. But, you know, maybe I'm just living in some kind of Gary dream world fantasy land. We want to get some fun and play and dance and music and art into our everyday lives. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going to a performance of Don Quixote. I don't know the actual pronunciation of that. Don Quixote, most of us might say in English. There's a ballet performance here in Tokyo. I'm going to go in late next month, but I do have the ticket now. And so, yeah, that's another way you can be inspired. And I often get very emotional when I go to classical music concerts. It's not unusual for me to shed a tear, actually, or 2 or 3, or a river when I go to musical concerts or dance events. So I will look forward to this, and I would encourage you to also bring music and dance into your life. And what else is going on? I still have my whiteboard here, don't I? I'm going to get to that. There's a time for everything. But what else is new in the Moves news is that this is a channel for thinking people. I'm a thinking person, and I do my Gary Moves and Moves news according to what I want to do and what I want to share. And I'm a thinking person. I contemplate, I experiment. I'm kind of like, I understand scientific method, and I try to figure out causes and effects, and I try to use science and physics. I have a background in physics, as many of you are aware, so I try to figure out, you know, such things as efficiency and best way to do things. And so that's what this channel is about. And I do this on a daily basis, not just a daily basis, but on a second to second, minute to minute basis. I contemplate and try to find hacks, personal hacks that I use for like almost everything I do. I'm always trying to figure out better ways of doing things. Yeah, you know, and I had to check myself half an hour ago. I was drinking some coffee, and it doesn't happen very often, but I was just drinking the last bit of coffee, and I just put the coffee in. I don't use any filter or fancy thing. I just put ground coffee in a mug and then add hot water and stir it, and 4 or 5 minutes, all the grounds sink to the bottom, and I drink it. Turkish coffee or something like that. And I had a brand new shirt on. This is what is new in the Moves news. I went shopping. Is that important to you? Well, the story that comes from it might have some relevance in your life. Actually, I was drinking the coffee. I was hooking up the mics, and I got the camera set up, and I checked the and make sure there's enough battery and space in the SD card and all this type of stuff. And I've been going through in my head sort of things, and even making a few notes as to what I might talk about today, what's been occurring to me. Actually, the Moves news is the news in a sense. I'm not talking so much about events. I'm talking about how I'm considering and analyzing and using events to make progress. You remember the helicopter arms from yesterday, right? Teaching is mostly reminders, am I right? Coaches, am I right, skaters? Teaching is mostly reminders. So I'm just reminding you, when I go into my jump, this really helps if I get some kind of rotational momentum going in the jump, and then just time the steps and the turns in such a way that this turning momentum just stays nice and constant, and then at the right time I pull it in as I go up into the air. I pull it in to speed up the rotation. Yeah, but I spilled coffee on that nice new shirt, and so then I had to go and take it off and clean it right away. Nice new shirt, spilled coffee on it. Yeah, isn't that how it goes? It wasn't white, at least, but so that's a reality check. Like Gary, tell yourself that you're not in a good am I nervous for the Moves news? I mean, I'm going to do this. It's going to work out fine, and everybody's going to give me a lot of slack because they know I'm just kind of a newbie at this. So yeah, so I had to say, come on, Gary, why are you messing up, spilling things? I don't look at spilling things as just isolated events. I look at them like, okay, I'm not in a good space. I'm not in harmony with the universe. I'm rushing, or I'm not in a good frame of mind. You know, I often use when I'm lacing up my skates. I like to lace up the skates without missing a hook or fumbling around, or I like to miss up. That's kind of an exercise in getting things done efficiently and well without making mistakes. So when I spilled coffee on my shirt, I was kind of disgusted with myself, frankly, ashamed of myself, but you know, I just looked at it as a wake-up call. That coffee. Okay, come on, Gary, get your balance back again, and be a little bit more careful, or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, I was drinking coffee, and I stir my coffee with this spoon actually, and the spoon kind of looks like. Kind of natural. I think it's natural bamboo. It looks really nice with this drum, right? And as it turns out, if you just keep an open mind as you're going through your life, you can figure out stuff like this. Well, I can work on that and turn that into something. So maybe I'll bring that out in the future. But yeah, being creative and not getting into habits or routines and not copying each other to fit in. This can be quite a benefit for our progress. And also in the news actually is I started running again. And do you need to know that Gary Beacom started running again? No, you don't need to know that. It's not going to help you. But can Gary Beacom teach you something, giving you better insight into figure skating or sport or life by talking about his running on his channel? Something that's important and interesting for me might also be important and interesting for you. And yeah, so we need endurance as athletes, depending on the nature of our sport. In figure skating, our program before the judges is, 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, something of that range. So we need endurance through that short period of time It's a special type of endurance, which becomes even a little anaerobic, especially towards the last bit of the program where you're trying to squeeze out every little bit of energy you can muster to make your spins faster, make your jumps higher, land those jumps, keep your balance better and all those things. That type of endurance is important, but also the sort of endurance, sort of more like a figure skating session length type of endurance can also benefit you for your sport. And in figure skating, for example, you could just go about this, improving your endurance for a skating session. So in other words, being able to accomplish more on a skating session, not needing to rest as much, able to keep moving without fatiguing so quickly. You could accomplish more in that way if you just push yourself a little harder. But I like to do some kind of endurance test in my life. Actually, I like running because it's so engaging, not only for the body, but for the mind. You know, like I'm thinking all the time when I'm running. And I don't know, maybe some ultra marathon person might come along and say, no, you just got to get into some meditative state, put all thoughts out of your mind, just go on autopilot. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking about how the weight's moving across my foot on each stroke. Sometimes I'm thinking about the stability of my core. I'm thinking about the symmetry of my running. Is it the same on both sides? I'm thinking about how far forward I'm leaning. I don't want to lean too far back or too far forward. I'm thinking about keeping a low center of gravity to minimize the impact and to allow better power, because if you have a lower center of gravity, like in figure skating also, if you got a little bit more bend, then you have a little bit more power. So you know, the lower your center of gravity, the more you can push off that, the more you can propel yourself forward in each stride. So yeah, and then to keep the breathing relaxed and full and timed to the running in some way, and to find relaxation in the body just in general. So not carrying any ambient tension during running. Yeah, you're working when you're running. I mean, motion itself is a lot of the work in running, and it's also supporting your weight. You know, there's not a lot of friction in running. There's not a lot of air friction or viscosity. If you think of it, and you're just putting your foot on the ground, and then there's nothing sliding against, so there's almost no friction in running. What takes the energy is the motion of the body itself. So and you want to make that motion as relaxed as it can be. Yeah, you're working when you're supporting your weight, and also when you're pushing as you straighten that leg. You're working, but you don't want to carry unnecessary tension, you know, in your shoulders or arms or jaw, or, you know, you don't want the tension of the muscles that are working to metastasize into your whole body, kind of thing. So yeah, isolating motion and tension is quite important for not tiring yourself out as much. When you're more relaxed, you move more fluidly, so there's less resistance to your motions. And carrying tension just does drain the body generally. I do carry some tension sometimes in this core. I think that's money well spent. Keeps a little bit of tension, certainly awareness in this part of the body, very important, but also even a little tension, I find that does help. But yeah, so there's many things like this that you can think about when you're running. I would like to do some 10K race again. When you time yourself, this is one thing I like about running. You can time yourself over a particular distance, and you can measure. You can use it as a barometer for where you're at, and you can use it as a motivator to strive to get your timing to set a record, personal best. So yeah, but I want to work up to that. I don't want to just find a 10-kilometer distance and do what I always used to do. You know, today I ran pretty hard, pretty fast for a couple of kilometers at a time only. Maybe I did a total of 5 kilometers this morning, but with resting and other exercises in between. Do I need to remind you about this exercise from last week? Yeah, Elizabeth pointed out that I thought I was, and I even said in my video that I had a 180-degree spinal range, but when I looked at my video, I realized that when I was doing this exercise, my hips were actually moving more than I thought they were. And so that I didn't have that full range that I thought I have. So yeah, I do this every day, and I haven't done it yet today, and maybe you haven't either. So while you're watching, or press pause, and yeah, I'm going to take you out sometime. I found a tripod. I'll take you outside sometime and show you some of the workouts that I do. I try to be really resourceful because I don't want to carry anything with me. I'm running, I'm walking, but I'm using just the environment in certain ways to stretch, to do strengthening exercises, mobility exercises, and whatnot. And even myofascial release and massage type of rolling type of exercises, I can use railings for that and stuff like that. And I want to show you that because your roller is really good for some things, like for your back, but you don't take your foam roller everywhere you go with you, and you can use opportunities in many, many places to use what you have available in your environment. Yeah, so I thought maybe Elizabeth has been giving very insightful and thought-provoking commentary in the comments, and she's not the only one. But I thought what I wanted to do, because I showed you the lesson I had with Paul. Paul Eastham gave me permission to post my lesson. We took the lesson, and so you can watch my lesson with Paul, and you're going to learn something from my lesson with Paul. And you might even think to yourself, that's really cool. You really seem to help Paul a lot. So can I also have a lesson? And yeah, but I thought maybe for the channel I would do some conversations. I don't want to call them interviews because I don't want to interview anybody. And I don't want somebody to interview me. I don't want there to be any sense of me being an authority or another person being an authority. Yeah, we have thoughts and ideas, but I want to have a conversation with somebody, a give and take. And I think this is how we ultimately can learn the most. Because often, I'm not going to be afraid about disagreeing with somebody that I'm having a public conversation with, for example. And I'm not going to be offended if somebody disagrees with me, either by pointing out some road that I've been led astray on. I learn things all the time, every day. Learning new things and storing them and processing and trying to decide what's real and what's helpful and whatnot. But yeah, so I thought maybe I would have a conversation with Elizabeth on the just the two of us. We'll figure out the technology to make that work, and you'll find that interesting because it's not going to be it's going to be like a lay person. I'm not really a lay person with regard to figure skating. After all the decades and thought and experimentation and experience that I've had in figure skating, I'm not a lay person. So you would expect that my opinions and insight and advice might carry a lot of weight, but ultimately it's not about me being an authority. Don't treat me like I'm some authority or guru or master or anything like that. Maybe I'm a little farther down the road, likely farther down the road than almost everybody watching this as far as, experience in figure skating. And maybe I've spent the most time on the ice practicing figure figure skating of any human being in present or in history? It's possible. I mean, I haven't kept track, but you know, yeah, I've been around for a while and I've tried to stay in good shape and I practice almost every day and that. So logged a lot of hours, and so I do have, yeah, so I that's why I make the channel, is because I feel like I can teach you something, right? By sharing my experiences and my insight. I don't like to use the word knowledge, because the only thing we can know is what Descartes told us that we can know, and that is that I am. Je pense, donc je suis. I think, therefore I am. René Descartes. That's all you can know. Everything else, you can kind of like, you have to assess a probability to it. How probable is it this is true, or that is true, or this causes this, or that there's a correlation between this and that, and you know, does this drum exist? Well, yeah, 99.99999, yeah, it exists. Maybe it's some figment of imagination. I mean, some kind of simulation or what have you. But if we have an attitude like, okay, that's maybe like, looks like an extreme weird example, but if we have an attitude like everything that we know, we actually don't know, because we might be proven wrong. And so, like, this is an attitude that I have. And it allows me to go out and practice figure skating, because you might expect after all the hours that I should be perfect. And I go out and make a lot of mistakes, and I show my humanity and my, you know, my mortality and everything when I try to practice figure skating. It's not so easy. And yeah, but so I'm thinking of in the future on the Moves News, moving in the direction. I want to keep it alive and advancing, and I'm in conversations with Elizabeth to maybe have a conversation between the two of us, between adults. She will teach me a lot of things. I will teach her a lot of things. It will be a good cross-pollination of ideas, and I think it will be interesting for you, because undoubtedly you'll be able to relate to many of the things that we talk about, and you'll have you know, you'll agree, and some of your ideas will be reinforced, or it will at least stimulate you into thinking about certain concepts that are important for success in figure skating or sports or dance or life. So that's kind of the direction we're moving in, and I think I've gone on long enough. Actually, frankly, I could just very briefly show you what I was going to use this whiteboard for. So that is a rocker then, isn't it? Tracing that a rocker makes on the ice. And I mentioned that we have this tendency to over-rotate our 3 turns, and we have a tendency to over-rotate all of our turns and take shortcuts. So this is what we have a tendency to do is, if we're going to do this rocker, we curve too much, and then we come out straight. Actually, I'm sorry, we come out straight on this side. And that's an over-rotation. And so if it's a rocker, it has a little bit of a curve the wrong way, because you're still on this, you're on the same edge the whole way. There's a lean from hip to blade. That this is another way of thinking about the quality of an actual rocker, is that you sustain the lean. You don't come flat and then do the turn and then go deep again. Flat, turn, flat, and then deep again, like actually most skaters do. But you see the angle that this comes out is too far around. It should have come out on this angle here, but it came out on this angle. So it's not only taking a shortcut, you can see that it actually comes out a little bit farther angle, the over rotation, and so it takes a shortcut. Actually, it doesn't take a shortcut for a rocker because the rocker then has to curve the other way, but for a 3-turn it would take a shortcut. It's a straight line after the turn. If you have those straight lines after your turns, you're not showing good skill and you're not setting your jumps up well. You're showing overall deficiency in skating skills, something that figures taught us. And yeah, so this is Gary signing off today on the Moves News. Goodbye, and I'll see you again next week. Cheerio. Hey, this is Gary, and Gary's about to move. I got my running shoes on. Do you want to go for a vicarious run with me along the row of cherry blossom trees here when the cherry blossom trees are blooming so beautifully? Yeah, so I'm going to cover this, maybe it's a half a kilometer. I don't have a gimbal or a stabilizer, so I'm going to try to keep the camera as steady as I can and just focus on trying to get some pace through this distance so I don't have to make this video longer than necessary. And this is a training mission as well. There's quite a interchange for the Codoro highway. There's also a train track that goes by here, and there's a few roads. It's an urban place, but there is this nice park. As in Tokyo, there are a lot of parks. It's a big cosmopolitan urban city, but it has a lot of green spaces, and In this case, the cherry blossom, the row of cherry blossoms. Bye for now. Yeah, so I was trying to hold the camera steady. It's not that a big deal, but I wanted to hear you I want you to hear me how I'm breathing very deep and full and sustaining that for, that was what, 2 or 3 minutes or something, between a half and I think I was on a 4.5 kilometer pace, something like that. That would be my estimate, the speed I was running. So 45-minute 10K kind of pace. That was only 2/3 of a kilometer or something like that. It's nice to fit. This is kind of the length of a figure skating performance, whether it's competition or exhibition. A little bit shorter, but that type of idea, actually, like, it's just almost like a short program, focusing a lot on just the lungs and breathing, because that's going to be a limiting factor. I mean, and yes, it takes some power to operate the diaphragm to breathe as well. So it's not like free energy, but oxygen intake and carbon dioxide expulsion are going to be a limiting factor in your endurance. So I like to train that sometimes, and thank you for your vicarious participation in my training. That's it for now. Bye.